2025 has been absolutely phenomenal for gaming, and while some people complain about the Game Awards making it seem like there was one game,
Flare obscure. Flare obscure. Flare obscure. Flare obscure. Flare obscure.
there were quite a few more. Okay, just to comment on that, since the first video sadly got lost and I now have time to actually correct this a little bit, I also think that it's quite sad that this amazing gaming year wasn't really reflected by the most well-known award show. And while I would have loved to see some games like Blue Prince or Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 getting some recognition as well, those games are not bad all of a sudden because they didn't get an award, you know? Like, if they are your game of the year, Jeff Keighley cannot change that. And honestly, my top 10 is probably far away from your top games as well. And this is just one random guy's opinion, so feel free to share yours. Whether we agree or disagree, just keep it civil, since all I want to do is share the games that were special to me this year. Friends Love feels like an actual genre at this point, and while most of them really didn't interest me that much, Reaper is the one that did. You definitely know this one since it has been all over Twitch, your grandma's Windows XP to PC, it was pretty much unavoidable. Reaper released very early in the year and started the indie trend that would dominate this year for so many people. Simple premise, phenomenal gameplay loop, cute looking robots, some well hinted at lore if you dig deep enough. It's fun both solo and in multiplayer, and you know the slight horror touch was just the icing on the cake. With the constant gameplay and dev updates, it's a real joy to watch this game grow and become better and better. And if you didn't play it yet, you should give it a go. Now that's a game neither you or me expected to be this good, huh? Now Scott Junn's first game is a psychological horror mystery. I don't even want to tell you that much about it, honestly, because I think discovering the story and secrets by yourself is the best experience you can have. And it's also fairly cheap. Now there was one specific puzzle that I had a problem with when the game launched, but I believe it was fixed shortly after, so there really is nothing you should worry about. It's not the deepest storyline you've read either, but what Scott got 100% right was like, yes, it's an RPG Maker game, but if done well, that really doesn't matter. To the Moon proved that like, what, over a decade ago at this point? If you like a horror mystery with some roguelite elements, please give this a go. Don't ruin the 69 votes. Constance is one of those games I started with the expectation of, well, it's Silksong Light, and at least in terms of game length, it surely is. It's a lot shorter to 100% this game. The mix of tight 2D gameplay, dark atmosphere, and psychological themes works surprisingly well and lets you fly through the game. What really stands out is how the game reflects mental health, not just through its story, but through its mechanics as well. To give you an example, if you're out of ink, your resource to cast spells or use abilities, you can keep using them if you use your health instead. And it can be challenging and also uncomfortably relatable at times, but that's exactly why it sticks with you. Not a flawless game because it feels like a little polish in there was missing, but Constance has a lot of heart and is so much more than a Silksong clone. Especially since gameplay wise it's more of Hollow Knight's and Celeste's child, with enough unique features to separate itself, mind you. I really hope there will be more in the future. Now before we go into the top 5, here are my games that I've played a lot this year but didn't release this year, so I will mention them in this separate section. Parts of the video. After all these years, Overwatch apparently is still a game I keep coming back to. It has its ups and downs, sure, but since Season 18 I really started to enjoy the core gameplay again. And Stadium, god, I love Stadium. It's so refreshing. Now the game changes in just the right ways for me, and I'm curious to see whether I will still play it as much next year. Isaac continues to be one of the most replayable games ever made. Even years later, it still finds ways to surprise me, whether through synergies, challenge runs, or yet another final run of For the Day, only to do 3 more. I started to play on Switch too, where I have no save files yet, so I even get the satisfaction of unlocking stuff again, which I can't on PC without deleting my files, so that's not an option. I have been a fan of Isaac since the Flash game release, and even in 2025, I still found more than enough joy. Now Dead by Daylight isn't perfect, and in fact, 2025 has been a really waff? In fact, 2025 has been a really tough one to be a DBD fan, but it's still uniquely addictive. No other game creates the same mix of tension, chaos, and sometimes even pure nonsense. At least not a multiplayer game I can think of. Love it or hate it, and we all definitely hate it at times, it continues to deliver unforgettable moments. And even though I'm still on somewhat of a break at the moment, I played it quite a lot last year, and I'm definitely looking forward to the end of the month. Now, this game released in December 2024, so just not in 2025, otherwise it would have been on this list as well. Mii is unsettling in a very psychological way, and the less you know going in, the better it is. I really love the surprising ending, and I know a lot of people hate it, but It was really refreshing to see a horror game end this way. I'm not gonna tell you that much about it. If you feel, by looking at the trailer, that you could get some enjoyment out of it, just please go and play it. It is a lot of fun, it's very over the top, but if you see those graphics, like, that's pretty much what you expect, don't you? Now, Chapter 3 was a big step forward for Poppy Playtime. The atmosphere is stronger, the horror feels more refined, and it finally feels like the series is fully embracing its potential. Now, we will not talk about Chapter 4, because we want this to be a positive video. I did play all the chapters last year, and Chapter 3 just had everything I want. Weeping angels, good theme, good music, genuine surprises, and more than just jump scares the whole time. Another 2024 release that I experienced in 2025, and one that absolutely earned its place here. It probably would have been the number 5 or the 6 spot if it was part of the official ranking. Silent Hill F surprised me more than I expected. Instead of relying on nostalgia, it takes the series in a completely new direction, both visually and thematically, maybe also tonally. Now, the Japanese setting and heavy focus on body horror creates an incredibly unsettling atmosphere for me personally that still feels true to the core of Silent Hill. And I know that many people will disagree with this, but that it doesn't try to be a classic entry is exactly what makes it work for me. A bold and refreshing step for the franchise about a topic that I as a Western man cannot even fully grasp because I simply never had to endure such a life, really made me realize just how flawed our mindsets have been and still are. Speaking of flaws, the game surely has its flaws. For example, the ending feels a little too crowded in terms of enemies. However, this really does not ruin my experience. It was phenomenal from beginning to end, and replaying this game multiple times is absolutely worth it. I know, very surprising from a Silent Hill title, right?
Maria wanted me to protect everyone from harm. Unfortunately, that includes you.
Sonic Crossworlds is just pure fun and speed. The different worlds and gameplay ideas feel very fresh without becoming too overwhelming, although items can sometimes screw you harder than Mario Kart ever could, and the game never forgets that its main goal is to be enjoyable. It might not be the deepest experience of the year, but it's easily one of the most entertaining, not even just in terms of kart racing. Sometimes a game just needs to be fun, and Sonic Crossworlds absolutely is. Every feature added makes sense and wasn't just added to have a fancy new thing. And while I believe that its progression system feels a lot better than other entries in that genre, it surely is a grind. Like, oh god, completionists, I'm so sorry for you. Now, I'm really looking forward to the next year since Sega has already announced that they have a few more surprises, and please just keep on winning. We all knew it would never beat Mario Kart. Like, that was never in the cards to begin with, but it just didn't need to. I think it pushed just hard enough to remind Nintendo that they still have to try at least a little bit. Legends EA is not exactly what I wanted the Legends series to become. It experiments with new ideas while still keeping the soul of Pokemon intact. The urban is not exactly fresh or beautiful. Like, let's not talk about the obvious technical failure that game still is. The gameplay is more fluid and ambitious, and while not everything works perfectly, the direction is very promising, for the spin-off series at least. For me, it's proof that Pokemon can still evolve when it's actually willing to take risks. We are still far away from what one of the biggest franchises of the world should be, like really far away. And for the mainline games, I want the classic approach with modern presentation. But Legends EA was absolutely enjoyable. Sure, it is way too grindy, and I surely hope that this is not the future for the games, because those aspects, especially the DLC in that regard, Jesus, please do not repeat this, Game Freak. The gameplay and many memorable characters absolutely carry this, but boy, the grind does not need to return.
And one falls. When one falls. Not if, when.
Now, Clay Obscure Expedition 33 didn't take me by surprise. No, like, literally. Not only have I been told how amazing the game is before I played it, even a big plot point was guessed in the first hour or so of the game. But to be fair, that's due to other story games having a very similar plot points. The presentation makes the predictability completely irrelevant though. The art direction was not exactly for me, I must say, but what really sold me was the combat system being definitely one of the best of its kind. It's not the most unique one, sure, but its execution is just near perfect. The music, elevating every moment, and the world is both beautiful and unsettling at the same time. It's one of those games where you can feel the passion behind it in every detail. A stunning debut and easily one of the most memorable experiences of the year. If I have to nitpick, then I'd say that it never reached the absolute high that the prologue's end was after sad part happened. It's a little like the movie Up, the masterpiece entry and only a good to really good game afterwards, if you get what I mean. However, the music will be remembered for eternity. Like, that I'm really sure of. In years and years, we will see some parts of this soundtrack next to other giants like One Winged Angel. It is that good. Now at this point, honestly, Silksong still feels kind of unreal. And after playing it, it was worth every bit of the wait. The movement is incredibly fluid, the combat feels refined, the world is just as rich and mysterious as I hoped for. It manages to respect Hollow Knight's legacy while confidently standing on its own. Every new area, boss, and piece of music feels handcrafted with care. And it's a lot more difficult than the first Hollow Knight, but gives you many more tools to deal with that as well. It has some really tough runback sections, but only during times or areas that should transport that exact feel of frustration and desperation. Now the game's soundtrack has some really strong highlights, although I have to admit that I prefer the overall soundtrack of the first game. Hollow Knight Silksong gave me that exact feeling E33 gave others. For me, Silksong wasn't just my game of the year, it was a reminder of why I love games in the first place. Now, of course it didn't carry the emotional weight that E33 did, but it was still very addicting, the gameplay loop was rewarding, all the areas, and also the characters were just so memorable. I really didn't want to stop playing it, and I'm glad that I don't have to since the new DLC is already on the horizon. Now I have to say, that year was amazing. At the end of the day, this list isn't about what should have won awards or what I think is objectively better, because 2025 reminded me just how diverse and creative this medium can be. From store-crashing, long-awaited releases to the smallest gems, whether a game made me think, scared me, relaxed me, or just kept me up way too late. Each of these earned its place here. If your list looks completely different from mine, that's honestly a good thing. It just means gaming is in a really good place right now, isn't it? If we all have different games this year, doesn't that just mean that there were just more to pick from? And isn't that what we all wish for in the end? With that being said, I hope your start into 2026 went smooth. Now, if you enjoyed this video, please consider liking, maybe subscribing even, checking out my other socials like Twitter, Twitch, and if not, that's totally fine. Take care of yourself, look after yourself, and in case we will not see each other again, I hope you have a wonderful forever, mate.